What's up, people? Welcome to the Wednesday night Grumpy Sound Guy show. I'm coming to you from a absolutely gorgeous West Virginia sunset. People, spring is in the air, about 70 degrees today. I'll take it. Spent most of the day in the shop getting things done and prepared for the summer season. So it is going to be a super awesome week this week with the temperatures and the way the weather's going. And I am praying for a super awesome summer in the same respect, where we will absolutely be all out here making money in the warmth of the summer sun. So tonight I had a buddy of mine, Rob Berkman, had actually hit me up. I already had this kind of on the back burner and had asked me in a comment on today's short, which we're going through the Sound Guy bingo card. And that has been a hoot. Let me tell you right now, it has been some kind of fun doing that. So check out that series. But he had said, how about talking about when the band comes off stage and then wants to blame, all of their lack of talent or bad notes or train wreck musical arrangements on the sound guy. They go out there and they tell the audience, hey, look, the sound guy just ruined us tonight. I can remember a situation, probably 10 years ago, where I was playing in a band and had hired production, and the people who were throwing the event chose the opening act. And the opening act was not a very good band. I had seen them several times in clubs, and they sounded like poop there. And as you can imagine, they sounded like poop at our show too, So, it's always a tough situation when you got to deal with that sort of thing, you know what I mean? And it was not cool, man. It was just absolutely not cool, So I remember, the promoter coming to me and being like, hey, JR, what's going on? Your sound guy's killing this band. And I'm like, no, man, unfortunately, he's not. I don't play those games. Even when I was, headlining events like that, I never asked a production company to pull punches with the opener. Mix them, make them sound as good as you can make them sound, and then let the chips fall where they may, and so that's just not how I rolled, So the reality of it is I was like, listen, man, had you ever heard the band anyplace else? Like in a club date or anything like that? Well, no, but they came highly recommended. I'm like, well, let me let you in on a little secret. I did my homework prior to the event and went and seen them twice, actually, in a club setting, and they sounded exactly like they sound today. So my production people are not doing this to your band, they're just not. It's the band doing this to the band. And I can't tell you how many times that I have seen, bands, even from the stage sometimes, call out a sound guy because they're struggling to do things correctly. And that's a tough road to hoe, man, and that's a hard situation to work through, especially if you're a house engineer. Let's just face it, a lot of bands that aren't familiar with who you are, and I dealt with this myself, people who didn't know who I was, and they immediately come in. If you want the whole freaking Air Force to fly over your house, just start recording a video. That's all it takes, And then you got C5s for days, flying over the place. Anyways, a lot of sound guys got to deal with the fact that, people don't know who they are and they have no relationship with the band. They usually kind of lean into the fact that the guy is going to be a challenge to work with, even if they have nothing to back that up. And it's not fair, man. It really isn't. It's not cool to treat a house guy like that or any sound guy like that. But I understand where you're coming from. I'm a drummer, and I've been in bands where we've had absolutely horrible sound guys. But, usually with 5 minutes of conversation, we can figure out whether or not the guy knows what he's doing. And if he doesn't, I try to make his job as easy on him as I can, because sometimes it's about working smarter, not harder. And half that battle is really like having your own in-ear monitor rig, so the guy only has to worry about front of house. Listen, I'm telling you right now, as a whole, bands that have went all ears, their performances have gotten drastically better. And it's for one reason and one reason only, and it's because even a novice sound guy can usually get front of house decent, and let's face it, some of these clubs are not paying these guys big money, so you kind of get what you pay for in that scenario. You're not getting, guys on my level for $100 a night or $75 a night or even $150 a night, So you got to kind of deal with whatever the club gives you. And like I can remember when I was in a band about 10 years ago where I had 2 kick drums. Now I know going into this as a sound engineer, most places are not going to have a matched pair of, Beta 52s or 91s or, anything like that, even Audix D6s, all the go-to kick drum mics. So what I did was I triggered my kick drums. So the house guy could just plug his one kick line into my processor and get both kick drums. Made life way, way easier on the house guy. And I always had really good sounding kick drums because of that. And then it's kind of idiot proof, guys. Then the guy, doesn't have to gate it. He doesn't have to compress it. He doesn't have to put verb on it. It comes like that right out of the box, out of the rolling unit, So there's a lot to be said for that. But, trying to navigate your way through a challenging work environment where the band just seems like they really just got it for you. Like they got your number that night. And no matter what you do, they're not going to be happy. No matter what you do, it's your fault. I was in a church scenario one time where I was a tech director at a pretty large Baptist church. And we had a bass player in there at one time who just really struggled to learn the music. He genuinely was trying, and he was genuinely trying to get it right. But what would happen would be, if he couldn't get it right, he would feel embarrassed and insecure and want to blame it on the fact that he couldn't hear himself in his mix. And there was 1,000 production reasons why he couldn't play the songs right. And, I tried to keep my composure about that. We're in church, for God's sake, for quite some time. But then it finally got to a point where it was like, look, dude, no matter what mix I give you, it's not going to make you play the right notes. You need to learn the music. That's not my fault. Don't come try and blame all that junk on me because, I have had about enough of this. And, the music director and I had some private conversation about it. And I'm like, this is not going to end well, dude. You're going to have to do something about this because I'm not going to take this abuse, So there comes a point where you got to draw a line and you got to say, well, look, right mix or not, it didn't make your fingers go to the wrong place on the fretboard or, make your drumsticks, hit the wrong accents. I could almost give it to you if you're a singer, because, a good monitor mix definitely helps you be a better singer. And I get all that. I'm not trying to say that that's not a valid conversation. But some of the best singers that I've worked with in my life could, navigate through that situation pretty easy, man. Pretty easy. And, get the bare minimum. Tell the sound guy, pull everything out of their mix but their vocal and get just their vocal and get through the night, man. Sometimes that's what it's about. It's about just trying to get through the night. Maybe there's a gear failure. Maybe there's something wrong in the stage box because a lot of the stuff is digital these days. Most of the stuff is digital these days. Maybe there's some kind of, code error or something. I haven't run into that anytime recently, but anything's possible. Bad cables is a big one, with a monitor cutting in and out and stuff like that. You hear me preach about that stuff all the time on this channel about taking the time during the week and going through your rig, using quality cables, checking your connections. You should be pulling all your speak-on cables apart at least once a year and checking the tension on all the connectors, at least every year and a half, something like that, if you're playing out regularly. All that stuff matters, man. Using quality cables, all that stuff matters. And none of it's cheap. None of it is easy to do. No one wants to take the time to set and, give 40 hours a week or even 20 hours a week that you're not getting paid for going through your gear. But, the reality of that is, man, I do that all the time. That's why I'm not the cheapest guy in town. because you're not just paying for me to show up with gear and mix your event and go home. You're paying for me to come to that gig with confidence, come to that gig having done the homework, having, worked out all the bugs in my system at home to make sure that it's going to, work correctly. And my price reflects that, and so does everyone else's price who's worth their salt, So, I mean, it is what it is. And sometimes you need to tell people, just shut up and sit down. I hate to be that way. I honestly do. And, I get a bad rap, with the grumpy sound guy, persona, that I'm the jerk of the universe. And if you actually take a minute to get to know me, you'll figure out that I'm really not. But I am very firm on certain things because, number one, I'm not going to lose money and get screwed just because it makes you comfortable. Like, you're totally okay with me being uncomfortable and losing my ass as long as you're comfortable. That's never going to fly with me. And I'm going to call you out on it 100% of the time, And then the other thing is, don't blame me for things I have no control over, Like, if I have no control over whether or not you sing in key or you're playing the right notes, don't go and blame that junk on me, man. Don't put that burden on my back because I'm not going to carry it, I am genuinely going to use the resources that are set in front of me to the best of my ability, and we'll probably get the maximum amount of return for what you're giving me to work with. I'm pretty good that way, and I have a pretty solid reputation that way. But don't you dare stand on stage and tell the audience the reason the band sucks tonight is because of the sound guy. Look, I mean, if the guitar tone is trash and, the kick drum is weak, okay, but you can still get through a night like that and make the impression you want to make as a band. If you're that dependent on your production guy, maybe you need to go back to the table and do some more rehearsal and really look at your set list and make sure you're playing to your strengths and you're not just trying to stroke your ego and play a bunch of stuff that is out of your range of being able to sing. And I can't tell you how many people I know that are doing that right this second. That are playing music they have no business playing. They can't play it correctly. They can't sing it correctly, whether it's upper register or lower register, because I know guys that are trying to be Adam Levine and, Rob Halford, that don't have any of that upper register stuff. You got no business playing that music. And then I know women that are doing lower register country stuff that sound like dog slobber too. Like, it goes both ways, man. And that's part of how you manage your band, the set list you choose, and you being smart enough to understand the gifts and talents that your band brings to the table and playing to those strengths. How's that have anything to do with me? I'm going to do the best I can do to make you sound good. You just sound good. It's sound reinforcement, not sound recreation, okay? They can only fix so much stuff in the mix, and bad notes ain't one of them, because I don't carry auto-tune and I don't believe in that jazz. Get it right, and get it right the first time. Listen, thanks for watching this. Thanks for listening to me rant this week. Please like and subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you next week.